toasting, joking too. Sipping and roasting is what we do. Light 'em up, drink 'em down. Whiskey and cigars all around. Cheers, y'all.
Well.
That's the sound of a party about to happen.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this fine radio program, podcast, and video extravaganza known internationally
Hi, Mom.
as the world-famous Smokin' and Toastin'. It is so nice to be here with you for show number 283, and today's show will be a little different, which I'll get into, the logistics of that in a moment, but we are going to have a great one, because on show number 283 today, as we talk about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars, our guest is Ryan Savoie. Ryan, am I pronouncing your name right?
Savoie.
Savoie. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Much more. It's like I talked about the French last week. They're just more cultured than we are. That's why if you missed last week's drinking news, that's why they were just so appalled at the soccer player that kept farting in the in the dressing room. It's a cultured type of place. So Ryan Savoie, Ryan, welcome. He is the executive chef at St. Arnold Brewing Company, and we are big St. Arnold fans here on the show. So this is a very exciting thing. We're going to talk beer and food pairing today.
All right.
And that's a super exciting thing that more and more people are beginning to want to discover and want to explore and ask about, whether it's beer and food pairing or spirit and food pairing or even wine. And it's something that my knowledge is totally limited to stuff I've tried that seemed to work pretty good. That's
I think that's the best way to go.
Yeah. So
trial and error.
You can kind of know certain things might be more likely, and we'll talk about that a little bit. If you're dealing with a stout, for example, there's probably certain foods that'll go. It's not necessarily what you're going to do with the tacos, although you might. Yeah,
I'll drink a stout anytime.
But exactly. But there are things that might pair better, and we'll get to all of that, I hope, today. So we're looking forward to that. And anytime we have St. Arnold on the show, it's always exciting for us because not only obviously do we love their beers, but St. Arnold is what puts our city on the map,
big time,
for craft beer. Now, there's plenty of great craft breweries around the city. In fact, there's I think over 60 now in the greater Houston area. So that's a lot. But St. Arnold is the oldest craft brewery in Texas. And so not only did they kind of lead the way, but they have a tendency to be the one that gets recognition outside the state when when they're being recognized for medium-sized craft brewery of the year, or they were on the list that we did a couple of weeks ago of the 50 craft breweries that produce the most craft beer in the United States, and so St. Arnold's our representative. So you're the guys that make us look good, and that's particularly important because right up the street in Austin, they have great craft breweries, don't get me wrong, but they always seem to grab the headlines. And I'm telling you, I would put the Houston craft brewing scene up against the Austin one.
Austin has a strange mythical
it does
thing about it that the rest of the country they hear Austin and
but
they think about how it used to be, not entirely how it is anymore.
I was going to say, I do think that's starting to recede, because if you've tried to drive from one end of Austin to the other during rush hour, I'm pretty sure you can drive across Houston, which is much larger, in about the same amount of time. Traffic is bad in Austin. Not good urban planning.
The big difference in the traffic, though, is that our rush hour lasts from 3:30 to 6:30.
Well, and it's good that it's spread out, because that's actually helpful in many ways.
At least you're moving, right?
So So Ryan, welcome to the show. We are so glad to have you, and we'll get into the beer and food pairing stuff and do a little beer tasting. And I noticed you also brought some ginger beer.
Yeah,
this is a new. Is this a new St. Arnold thing?
Yeah. I'm not too sure where it's available retail at the moment, but it's out in several bars.
And so ginger beer is like root beer in that it's non-alcoholic.
Correct.
But it still has to be brewed. right?
Yeah.
So it's not just something you can mix up in a pitcher somewhere at home. It's got to actually be brewed. So we'll talk about this and do some tasting on that as well. And I think it'll be pretty exciting to get into that. In addition to our beer that we'll be talking about and tasting today from St. Arnold, we're going to be having a little whiskey too. And we brought this out to the Steak and Bottle Share this week that we were invited to out at Manny El Cubano Lopez's place. And it is called Clan Denney, which I bought because I knew our buddy Alan Denney was going to be there. And I thought I would surprise him. And it turns out he has some at his
of course
store.
He does.
Of course he does. So, but I think this would be a good time for us to take a look at what happened out at Manny's place. We had a really good time, as I'm sure you will see in this little bit that we recorded at El Cubano Cigars in League City, Texas, for Steak and Bottle Share Night. El Cubano Cigars, the one and only Ian Barry.
How could I miss it?
And amazingly, he's smoking a cigar. Tell us about it.
So this is the 409 Habano wrapper. It's fantastic. It's incredibly nutty and delicious right off the bat, and it goes well with, my buddy brought the cigar malt.
Yes.
So good.
I still remember those shows we did during the early days of the pandemic when we were on Skype, and I bought a bottle of cigar malt and poured you half of it, and you came and picked it up. That way we could both be drinking the same thing at the same time.
And it was cleverly disguised in a Sprite bottle.
Okay, let's just stop with the Sprite bottle. Let's talk about what happened the next week, which was when Ian was responsible for picking up the...
Dude, I dropped off so many bottles.
Yes, you did.
I was going to say beers, but it wasn't beers.
Yeah,
I dropped off so many bottles with you.
Yes, you did.
I didn't have any of them.
All of them were malt liquor. That was when we did our malt liquor taste test.
That was a pretty entertaining show. That's something we should go back and revisit.
And as far as my part, it continued to entertain me for the next several days. And I'm talking about not in a pleasant way. That's what I'm talking about.
Dude, look at this event here, man.
This is great. So we're going to go around in a minute and show people a little bit of what this is like. But not only does Manny, of course, roll all his own cigars and do all the blends himself. So everything here at El Cubano is the blends that Manny has come up with. Taste them. He's really good. He's really good.
This is such a cool area. This whole spot is so cool. It's so fun to come in here. It's open air like this. Bottle share tonight, as you can see. We got some great whiskeys going on,
Yes,
man.
we do.
Yeah, look at that.
And my wife is here, so we've got plantation pineapple rum going.
We even have Clan Denney.
Yeah, which we'll be talking about this on the show.
Yes, this makes me feel like I'm doing awful things with Alan.
Oh my God! Let me work on getting that mental image out of my head. But we're going to go out and take a look at the steaks here in just a moment and have some conversations with Manny, maybe in the humidor. He can show us a little bit of what he's got. And then what I'd like to do is see which ones of these people's lockers we can peek inside and see what they've got. There's one with the door
I
open
didn't
there.
bring my lock picking set.
That's okay. We got Alan Denney here. Or so he's claimed. So anyway, it's smoking the toast, and we'll show you some more.
Oh man, look at that.
Baby.
Meat candy, baby.
So this is the Stone Cold. Get a shot of this right here. This makes me happy because I absolutely love meat that's cooked over an open fire, just like that. That is fantastic. So these guys will be cooking
This
up
whole
our
setup where you can winch the grill up
Yeah, up and down. So if it gets too hot, too cold.
Oh yeah, that's serious right there. Do you guys do stuff all over the place? As in, like, could people hire you to come out for events and stuff?
For like rolling events, yes.
Yeah.
Not for barbecue.
Okay.
For rolling events, yes.
We are in the house that is Manny approved. One of our favorite people, Manny El Cubano Lopez at the El Cubano Cigar Lounge, and it's steak and bottle share night. Interestingly, cigars aren't in the name of the night, but they're just kind of assumed. Manny has just provided me with one of his newest blends. This is the El Cubano blend with the special. I'm pretty sure this is the Habano. And so I'm going to light this bad boy up and get the evening started. Ian's on his way, so I'm going to try and get a little smoking done before he gets here. Our good friend Alan Denney, by the way, in the house. What's up, Alan?
It's nice to be here as I pod crash. Too bad, Chris Hart.
Here we go. Let's light this baby up. It's a beautiful semi-box press. It's got a really nice nose on the pre-light, and okay, this is going to be pretty exciting because I can already tell lots of complexity to this, and I'm pretty stoked about smoking this one. So we'll let you know how it comes out. Ian will join us in a minute, and of course we'll go out and take a look at the steaks on the grill. That's my voice.
I love it.
Oh yeah, Ian, look at this. Stone Cold Meats.
I can't wait.
Does the steaks here, and these are the ones we've chosen. Mary's having a filet. Adam and Brianna will be doing this prime picana, and you and I are going to
Split that beast.
that thing. That's a Wagyu something or other.
What does it
All I
say
know
on
is
there?
Wagyu means
Wagyu sirloin flap.
Yeah, it means expensive in Japanese, but actually that's a really reasonable price for a Wagyu steak. You can pay a whole lot of money at the steakhouse. This is what happens at steak and bottle share night at El Cubano Lounge. That is exciting.
So looking forward to it.
That's going to be good. Potatoes too. And here's what it looks like once it's plated and being eaten. How is that, man?
It's very good.
Oh, it looks fantastic. I can't wait for ours to come off the grill. This is going to be exciting. You guys enjoying some Rebecca Creek, I see? Very nice. You guys come out here a lot to the steak and bottle share?
Haven't missed one all year.
Haven't missed one. That's so awesome.
That's dedicated.
And I can see why. I mean, these cigars, the steaks, what's not to like?
100%.
So this is Jeff. Jeff is bartending. I understand you make a mean old fashioned.
We do make Wisconsin
Brandy instead of bourbon. We got people headed behind the bar. All right, he's got to get some more fridge.
I'm from Wisconsin. Wisconsin, we're the number one consumer of Korbel brandy in the world. And the reason for that is because in the 1863 World Fair, that was where Korbel brandy was introduced. And that was in Illinois. And people from Wisconsin came to Illinois at the 1863 World's Fair, and they were all from Germany. And in Germany, they drank a lot of brandy. So this was the first brandy that they found in the United States. And those German immigrants, they made Wisconsin a brandy state. So if you go to Wisconsin and you order an old fashioned, it's going to be brandy.
They're going to make it with brandy,
even if you don't ask. Like
Yeah,
if you want a bourbon old fashioned, they're going to look at you like you don't do that.
Not from around here.
Not from around here.
It's kind of like ordering a Pepsi in Atlanta. Yeah.
So I moved to Texas a year ago, and I've had friends and coworkers making traditional fashion. I like them. I appreciate them. And today I'm making them my version.
Awesome. I love it. They look absolutely delicious. Is that a recipe you perfected over time, or was it easy?
No, it's a pretty easy. It's a traditional fashioned with maraschino cherries, bitters, a little simple syrup. If you want it sweet, you add 7-Up. If you want it sour, you add grapefruit soda. If you want it fresh, it's half grapefruit soda. It's half grapefruit soda, half 7-Up. And you can do it dry, where you just do a little Texas chocolate chic one.
Nice. Well, it looked fantastic. And thank you for giving us your secrets.
Yeah, you're welcome.
We're in the humidor with
Yeah,
Manny.
right.
This
See you guys.
is the place to be. Thank you so much for inviting
Thanks
us
for
out to
having
this.
me. Thanks for
This
coming
is
out.
quite an event, but we're really in the place where the magic happens.
Yes.
Right here. Well, I suppose the
This
magic
is what
actually
brings
happens
it all
where you roll.
together.
But this is where it all comes together. Now, she opened up with a shot of some of these cigars that you
Look
call
at how
exotics.
Right.
Tell us about those.
So
Manny.
these are under our Manny Special, our gold label, which is a 5-country blend that we do, and we do all kinds of different ornate work on them, cutting out different tobacco leaves and intertwining Connecticut's with Maduros and circles and lines and our football and our yin yang, and just getting creative with tobacco, just doing some things, some what I call tobacco art, stuff that you don't see every day.
Well, it's just absolutely gorgeous and very unique. I've not seen anything
smokable art.
We've seen obviously the barber pole cigars, and those are not that uncommon. But something like this football here, well, you talk about a great cigar for Super Bowl, Oh, that's wait, we need to pay the NFL.
Yeah, that's it. Big game, the big game, the big game cigar. So we do some.
Fantastic.
So I just get creative, get ideas in my head, and just kind of transition it to tobacco. And it takes a little time. You just kind of think about it, and it's just cuts and angles and taking different color tobaccos and just putting it all together.
Rolling a tobacco is art already.
It is. Rolling a cigar is art. Yeah, I always tell people making cigars is a combination of art and science. The science comes in growing tobacco, fermenting the tobacco, blending the tobacco into the cigar blend that you're looking for, and the art comes into rolling the cigar, getting the finished product and stuff.
When you experience this cigar, you're getting the flavor 3 different
Yeah, you're going to get,
wrappers
of course,
going
you're
all
right,
over.
exactly, because wrappers about 6, depending on the dimension of the cigar and the size of the cigar, about 60% of what you get out of a cigar is out of the outer wrapper on flavor and taste. Strength comes predominantly from inside, but flavor comes from the exterior. So that cigar, as you smoke it, it kind of transitions from a little milder on that Connecticut, a lot of leather, creamy tone. Then it'll get to that Habano. It's got some nice earthy tones. And the last little bit, which is the best part of the cigar, where everything collects, all the juices and all the nicotine and everything collects, you get into that Maduro, which is a nice, rich, earthy tones, kind of a little cocoa black licorice work in there. So it's just kind of a Neapolitan cigar.
That's so fun. That's a whole experience.
It absolutely is. Now, Manny, when we came out here the first time and did our show out here, you schooled us so seriously on so much about tobacco and rolling. It was really one of the coolest episodes that we ever did. And we smoked a number of your different cigars, took a number of your different cigars home and smoked them. And they were all really, really good.
Thank you.
But tonight, you handed me, I said, what am I smoking? And you put this in my hand.
Yeah, that's our
this
409.
Is the 409.
That's a 409 in the box press and what we call a Sublime 6.5 by 54 ring gauge. Just a very unique. I really tried to take on Cuban characteristics when I blended that cigar. Really taking all my knowledge and all of our rollers' knowledge together, the years and years of experience we have, and kind of blending something that's like a super cigar, something that's like unlike anything you've ever smoked
Manny, this
before.
is a masterwork.
This has stepped it up
so
even beyond where you were.
Yeah, it really is. And so, how did you yourself learn the art of blending?
Yeah, it was all taught by my father and grandfather. It's experimental. I mean, everybody has techniques and stuff. Yeah.
Your dad was a beautiful,
He was a great guy. We miss him every day.
Yeah,
Around here, of course, we have a little memorial to him there. He passed away, unfortunately, in December, but he lived 85 years, and we worked side by side for 40 years, side by side, and learned a lot from him. And I attribute everything that we've done to what I learned from him. He was the master, and he passed it on to me, and I hope to pass it on to my son as time goes on. And these are things that you don't learn in a book. It's hands-on. You have to put your hands. My hands are in tobacco every day, and they're all different. They're like snowflakes. Each one has unique characteristics, flavor profile, textures and thicknesses, and different vein structures and stuff. And you look at a tobacco leaf, to really learn about tobacco, you have to have it in your hands.
Yes.
Because that's when you really look at it. You can see how it grew and what made it do what it did and things like that.
I love on the labels on the boxes, especially you put "made by hand."
Yeah,
right up
absolutely.
Right up on top, like 100%.
Yeah. To make a good cigar, it has to be hand. It's all by feel. That's where the art comes in, because it's all feel in your hand. And like I say, you're grabbing tobacco leaves from a pile, and you're using different types of tobacco, seco, viso, ligero, but they're all different, even from the same pile. There's no two that are the same. They're a leaf, so some are thicker, some are thinner. So it's all adjustment, and it's all by feel and adjusting. And you're rolling the cigar, and you may have to tear a little piece of leaf to put it in there. To when you're rolling it, you pull back and add a little leaf, because it's got a little crevice, a little cavity in there. So it's an art.
It really is an art, and to be able to do something consistently, where you can go, okay, this is our blend, Now we're going to make this blend.
That's right.
And to be able to do that
time after time, and each year, tobacco will vary because you got different weather conditions, different amount of rains, different amount of sunshine, cloudy days, rainy days, wind, heat, cool, all that affects the tobacco. So to keep it consistent year over year as crops change and stuff takes a lot of some manipulation and really sophisticated palate to try to keep it as consistent year over year. Because I want a guy to be able to smoke this cigar and in 5 years come back and say, man, that's what I remember when I smoked that cigar.
Absolutely.
5 years
That's
ago.
an amazing ability.
The 409 is a triumph.
Thank you.
Honestly, this is
That's our top-notch cigar. It's the
absolutely
best of the best.
wonderful cigar.
The 409 is made from the top 10, 15% of the tobacco when we're getting the bales in and we're opening up the leaves and preparing it to roll. The leaves that are perfect vein structure, coloration, size and stuff, we put them to the side. It's about 10 to 15%, and that's what we use for the 409. So it's the pick of the litter type thing. It's a choice cigar of the
your
bales.
rollers do all that here.
Yeah,
Not
we
in
do
the
all
shop,
that.
but
We
you
do that in Texas City. Yeah, I do that personally. I go through every tobacco goes through my hand. Every cigar goes through my hand.
Not only that, but you do a lot of events where you go out and do the rolling on premises.
Right, because people have never seen it. I saw it on a video, or I saw it on TV, or
Right.
I thought it was a machine. No, the machine you carry with you everywhere you go, and it's
right
it's
there.
the hands, it's the art and stuff, and getting the tobacco and putting it all together, and it's like magic. It's like a good cigar roller. It's like it's effortless, and 10 minutes later you look and it comes out, a cigar pops out of just a bunch of leaves that are laying on the
That's
rolling
so
table.
A
fantastic.
triumph for sure.
you.
Congratulations
My pleasure.
on everything you've done. and on
We
this.
work hard at it. There's a lot of preparation, a lot of behind the scenes that people don't see. And when people start to see what's involved, and they understand why a cigar costs $8, $10, $15,
I'm
$20.
amazed.
It's just because there's a lot to it.
I'm amazed with everything that goes into a cigar that you can buy one at that price.
Yeah, it's handled through
Crazy.
hundreds of people. Just
Yes.
in the field, an average plant might be touched 150, 175 times in this growing period. Peeling off the dwarf leaves, you don't want anything to steal nutrients. Pulling all the weeds out of the ground so that nothing steals from that plant. Let all that soil and all those minerals and everything that earth has, let it come into that plant and let it develop that plant and give you the full flavor
As
of what the
healthy
cigar
as it
has to
can
have.
be. That's-
Exactly.
Love it.
Exactly.
Absolutely
The
love it.
agriculture of it's
Well,
fascinating.
the end result is everything you would want it to be.
That's it, that's
Fantastic.
the magic part,
Fantastic. Thank you, Manny,
My
for inviting
pleasure.
us out to
God made the
steak
tobacco
and
leaf.
whatnot.
I just figured out how to roll it in the cigar and smoke it a little bit better.
I love
So
it.
that's how
I
we look at
love
it.
So you want to talk about a good time, Ian? That was a good time.
That was an absolute blast.
And Manny, he may be, of all the people that I know in the cigar world, maybe not counting like the Rocky Patels who we've met, but I don't really know. But of all the people that I know personally in the cigar world, he may be the single most knowledgeable one. I mean, he's just what he knows about the whole process of putting a cigar together and what's involved. I mean, he's amazing, and he couldn't be a nicer guy. So I encourage you guys.
Gregarious is the word,
Yes,
sir.
thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, so I encourage anybody to go down there and check out his shop. It's in League City, Texas. It's called El Cubano, and Manny's there a lot of the time. So you can get him to walk you through the humidor and talk about what's there. And
his shop is easy to get to. I mean, you drive straight down 45. Well, depending on where you're coming from, but straight down south on 45 exit. What I think it's 518 is the name of the road. It's also known as Main Street going through there. But you, no matter which direction you're going, you exit 518 and you head east on 518, and you're just going to run into the shop.
And he does bottle shares regularly. And when the weather's not too hot, he'll take a break over the summer, but when it starts to cool down again in the fall, they do the steak and bottle share once a month.
The steaks were amazing. Stone cold.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Absolutely amazing.
Those steaks were, and then the way they did it, I've never been to a steak night like that where you go over and you purchase your meat. They have it vacuum packed.
Right.
And different selections, and you purchase, you peruse the cooler and purchase the meat that you want.
The steak you want, yep.
And then you go put it on a plate, and they have a
season it.
table with just tons of seasonings out. Season it however you want. Then you walk over to the guy with this amazing grill.
Oh my God, the greatest grill I've ever seen in my
This
life.
thing,
It was so good.
Man, that thing was awesome. And then he cooks it up however you ask, and hand it back to you, and you are eating. It's fantastic.
Absolutely.
Great cuts of meat.
Absolutely delicious. So I'm excited about doing a little, speaking of food, I'm excited about doing a little food and beer pairing here with Ryan Savoie from St. Arnold Brewing Company. And also on today's program, as we normally do these days, we will do another installment of the segment that has become incredibly popular on the program, but it is not always stories about drinking, but it is always stories that are probably best enjoyed if you've been drinking. It's what we call drinking news, and that'll be coming up here.
So much fun.
Yes. Our drinking news teaser headline for today: You'll never look at the Loch Ness monster the same way again. And that's coming up in our in a later segment here on the program. We are going to take a break right now. We'll be back with Ryan Savoie. I'll get that right by the end of the show. We'll be back with Ryan and a little food and beer pairing on Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. This is the program that is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We are excited about having Ryan Savoie with us. He is the executive chef from St. Arnold, and we're going to get into food and beer pairing in just a moment, but I wanted to pass this along first, Ian. Habanos South America, which is basically the company that exports Cuban cigars all over the world, except, of course, the U.S.
Right.
They set a record last year with more than $500 million in sales.
Wow.
And they're still raising the prices. We talked about this a little bit last week, but they're saying that prices could as much as triple on Cuban cigars across the next year, and expect those cohibas to run in the $100 plus range per cigar.
That's crazy.
Yeah. What are you, a Gurkha? Didn't Gurkha have like a super expensive one that's like, wrapped in gold or something like that?
Cohiba has one too.
Yeah,
They're Spectre, or something like that.
Or there's always the Davidoffs, which are almost that expensive.
Careful how many times you say that name and you just owe them money automatically. It's kind of like the NFL.
Kind of like the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
This could be an expensive show if I don't shut up. So anyway, I thought that was interesting. Record year for Cuban cigars around the world. And remember, this is without the U.S. market being open to them at all. If that were to go away, the embargo, right, and it would be okay for cigar shops here in the United States to sell Cuban cigars, imagine what that would do to their exports.
Yeah.
That would be almost like a vacuum opening up and cigars having to rush in to fill it. Although I'll tell you, especially with the prices going up like they are on Cubans, man, I don't know if I just don't know that it's worth
those
it.
Cohibas that are going to be going from $30 to $100, the cigar's not getting any better.
Right. Exactly.
It's just
I'm not saying
more
it's
expensive.
not good, but it's not going to get
No, it's a
3
great
times
cigar.
better. Yeah.
But at $100 a stick?
But is it really better than the Olivas that you and I were smoking the other night?
Yeah.
I
mean, or at the same previous price point, that 45th anniversary Padron. That is an absolute beast.
Absolutely.
And you may pay $30 plus for that cigar, but it is worth every penny. It's unbelievable.
So it's something to be excited about in some ways, but I just don't know. I don't know if I can justify the cost.
I think that Cuban cigar thing, that myth that Cubans make the best cigars in the world. Well, if you like that flavor, yes. I think that's much like 20 years ago or so. You can only get good beer in Germany.
Well, yeah, right.
or in Europe, and it's just not true anymore.
Or think about it like with sparkling wine, for example. It used to be the only good sparkling wine was considered to be from the Champagne region in France. Everything else was a pretender, right? Well, these days you can get some amazing brut cavas. You can get even sparkling wine from the United States, from Napa Valley or from Sonoma, especially that really will compete
Start to
very,
rival
very
pretty
well
close, yeah.
with that. So while that might still kind of be the gold standard, you don't have to go there. And I'll put some of the cigars you just mentioned right up against a Cuban. I really will.
Absolutely.
I really will. And they're less expensive. So it's something to think about. So, all right. Ryan Savoie is here. Yep. First of all, Ryan, explain to me why St. Arnold would reach out to you, why St. Arnold would have an executive chef at a brewery. What does your day-to-day job entail?
Whew, a lot of work in the kitchen.
In 5 words or less.
Yeah.
No, that's a joke.
I've been there, I'm in my 9th year, and I had a friend who was a brewer there. I was working for a different restaurant at the time, and he let me know that St. Arnold was looking to start a food program, and they needed an executive chef. So I applied. Interviewed a couple of times, I think 3, all day. And then I got the job and dove right in. And initially, we had a small kitchen. On the second floor, there's the beer hall, which
right.
I'm sure you're both familiar with.
Oh, yes, we are.
It's big.
Yeah.
I don't know the seating. 200 plus.
It's a big room.
Yeah,
I've been to weddings there and
St.
all
Arnold,
kinds of events.
St. Arnold moved from what was a very crowded sort of industrial park space in one part of town into this enormous old building out on the sort of really right off of the loop. But it's a beautiful.
It's right there at I-10 and 45, 59 interchange.
I'm sorry, thank you.
59 interchange. Yeah.
But it is a beautiful old building. But like the room that they selected for the beer hall is just cavernous. It's huge, and it's perfect, actually.
If you've lived in Houston for a while, it was also real easy to find when they first moved there, because that's where anytime you parked in the wrong spot and your car got towed, like right next to it was the lot.
Right next door, that's exactly right.
That you ended up having to go to late at night.
Oh, that's never happened to me.
Right?
Yeah, right.
And actually, where that tow lot was, that's where the new restaurant is. It's not new
Yeah,
anymore.
you guys took over a lot of that space.
We've had the beer garden open for 3 years now. And that's going great.
So you came over to St. Arnold. They had no program. You started it from ground up with them.
The food program.
Yes.
Yeah.
There was no food whatsoever. Outside of during the Saturday tour, and that was the only day that they had the tour at the time. They sold pretzels from Slow Dough Bread Company, which we still sell.
Tour, by the way, is quite the fun term for what they had. They basically, you came in, they gave you chips, they're like, go get beer and look out the window there.
And the tour is a lot more
involved now.
Involved now, yeah. There's you go in and you can see the brew kettles. They take you down onto the floor. You can see the fermenters, and now they're doing them 7 days a week. I think they do 4 a day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Used to be it would just Lenny would come down and go, okay, here's a pretzel, beer's this way.
Yeah. Before they moved, for the tours, Brock would just get up on a scissor lift because there was nowhere to walk around. You were just standing amongst all the stuff. So he would just go up on the scissor lift and give his pitch.
So Brock is the owner and master master
Houston
brewer.
legend.
Yeah, he really is a Houston legend because he started really all of this in terms of our hometown. So it's pretty cool thing. So when you first came in, there's no food available except for the pretzels. What do you do first? Like, what's a first step in creating a food program for something like St. Arnold Brewery?
Brock wanted us to. The idea that he had was for us to serve one meal a day, like a 2 or 3 course meal, and the idea was to come in and get this lunch at St. Arnold. We were only serving lunch too, and enjoy the beer, because at that time we were not able to sell our beer to our customers directly
on the premise. That's right. Yeah,
and he had a major hand in getting that changed.
Yeah, big time.
But we were able, if you come in, you buy lunch, the beer was included in
right.
the price.
Buy a sandwich, get beer free.
Yeah. But so 5 days a week, we were serving something different. And that lasted maybe 3 months, 4 months, because, it was changing every day. People would want something that they liked, and they weren't able to get it because the food was different every day.
Had before.
Yeah. So we just made a menu. And so we had a standard menu that we served every day. At that point, it was still just lunch, 5 days a week. And then we started serving food for the Saturday tour, which was a considerably abbreviated menu because we were serving so many people.
Right.
And the kitchen that we were operating out of was a bandbox. It was very small. But that went great. And then we started doing a pub night, which we would stay open late on Friday nights. And that was successful as well. And then we started catering, having events wherein we would, standard, delicious St. Arnold food catered for your event.
Were you pairing the food and beers like right from the start, or is that something that kind of developed out of it?
For that, I always have, everybody's got their suggestions. And I think for the pairings, it's something that gets generally agreed upon. But because I'm pretty free and easy when it comes to the pairing, I've always said, always start with what you like the most.
Right.
And use your own judgment based on what you like. Granted, some beers go better with some kinds of food than others.
I mean, barley wine and tacos for me.
But that's you.
Yeah, for the barley wine, I would put that. I mean, the easiest for that would be big steak. Or
a
ribs.
big steak, or how about something like even meatloaf or something like that?
Oh,
would
yeah.
work with a barley wine because it's big and it's
That big
robust.
savory kind of flavors.
Yeah. So I would guess that you sort of tailored the menu to the beers that were on the St. Arnold menu already. Is that a fair assessment?
You would think.
Yeah.
That is not it.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of stuff that we in the kitchen would want to do, things that we felt people wanted when they would come in.
Right.
And so for us, the food comes first, and then the pairings come after that.
So once you have a dish, you go, okay, which of our beers is going to go with this the best?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes total sense. So is it the type of thing where it's just general rule? As a general rule, you look for a certain style of beer or kind of beer for a particular food, or is it really and truly trial and error? Do you try everything?
I don't. Personally, I usually kind of stick to my guns when I think something's going to be good with something. But there's certainly plenty of others who work at the brewery who try a lot of different stuff.
Okay.
I know that Wags likes to, he will go through the whole. I mean, he will taste many
Taste it
beers.
with everything, yeah.
Yeah. And so usually when it comes to that, it comes down to discussion more than debate. I'm pretty easy. If somebody thinks that their pairing is going to be better, okay.
Yeah, all right.
Goza and hot dogs it is.
Goza and hot dogs.
That's terrifying, isn't it?
And the same goes.
Oh, it might be pretty good, actually.
The same applies with the beer as an ingredient. I won't use it unless it works.
Right.
I don't just throw beer in the food willy-nilly.
Right. So if we were going to take, where would you start with us? Would you start with this hideaway in terms of for us to taste and talk about what kind of food you would recommend that it go with?
Oh yeah, because this I would say is the lightest one, and I think.
And then the Isham Pills
moves to a little bit heavier.
So Ian, why don't you open that up? Let's take a little sip here, and then you can talk about what we'll talk about what the beer is like, and then you can talk about what kind of foods are on your menu or otherwise, that would be the right things to pair with these. So
Just go ahead and start passing those
pass them
around.
We try to take care of the producers. So
Everybody
All
knows.
right.
yep, absolutely.
Now for the
Sure.
for the hideaway, it's got salt and lime in it. I believe it's a Kolschist.
I think that's
Yes.
right. Yeah.
And then it's also soured with lactobacillus, which
So lactobacillus, is that something that's in the lactose family? What is it exactly?
that's deep a water question for me.
Yeah. So I mean, because there are a number of beers that include lactose in. I've had a number of these, but I don't think I've ever had anything in this style that had lactose.
That could be like lactose is a different thing, and lactobacillus is not related to. I don't know.
I was just wondering if it was related in some way.
Yeah.
So all right.
But I know that how it operates within the beer, it sours it. We had it in our boiler room, which I thought was a really cool beer. It was a really low
love
ABV.
Boiler Room.
Boiler Room was.
I missed that
wish
one
you
so
guys
hard.
would bring that back, even if just as a temporary thing.
At
Because
$5 for a bomber, I used to go
it
through
was
so many
wonderful.
of those.
And even if it was like 7 when it came back,
Yeah.
it'd be okay. I'd love it. Now, Boiler Room obviously became the Raspberry AF when they added raspberry to it. But what about this is similar to what Boiler Room was?
The addition of fruit,
Okay.
the lactobacillus, and a fairly low ABV.
It does remind me a little of Boiler Room.
Well, so Boiler Room always had a very delicate kind of sour to it. It wasn't a punch you in the face kind of sour.
Right. It wasn't. It didn't make your face pucker up when you drank it. It
no
was,
bitter beer face from it. And this has that kind of same. The sour's there, but it's not.
And you can pull out the
distracting.
lime and salt flavoring in that. So
I generally speaking, like when you say there's lime and salt in a beer, I 100% almost never want it. This is actually really pretty good.
I agree, though. A lot of times those beers that you're talking about just taste like they took like a Pilsner and dumped like some beer salt and lime flavored juice into it. And this tastes like it was really brewed for a specific flavor.
Oh yeah, and I know that they were working on it for quite a while. But I would say that there's no flavoring as much as there is the flavor of the actual ingredients. There's actual lime peel and powdered lime.
And you can pull
and straight up salt.
Yeah, you can pull that lime peel flavor distinctly out of it. Yeah,
it sits like right in the back of the palate after you take a sip.
And the salt kind of keeps it, keeps it on the top of the tongue as you drink it. Ian, let's make sure we show that to the camera. So we get a good shot of what Hideaway looks like. Of course, in the St. Arnold family of cans. But that's awesome. We always love seeing the patron saint of beers or patron saint of brewers. So food-wise, I mean, what's going to come to my mind is, tacos and Mexican food and things that you would maybe if you're someone who drinks a margarita with certain kinds of food, those would be the same foods that would go with this.
Let me ask you this, because I don't know what all's on the menu right now. If I walked in and said, man, I love this beer, what do you have on the menu that you think would go fantastic with this?
I would say our grilled chicken sandwich.
Oh, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, it's a grilled chicken sandwich on one of our many breads that we make in-house with pickled green tomatoes, preserved lemon, mayonnaise, arugula, and bacon, and fresh mozzarella cheese.
That's so...
You are making me hungry right now.
That sounds so good.
That sounds great.
That for a sandwich, and for one of our pizzas, I would say our Greek chicken pizza.
Oh yeah, that totally speaks to me too.
Grilled chicken, sun-dried tomatoes, spinach.
And would you?
I can see the sun-dried tomato going real well with that too. Yeah.
And would you pair this with tacos? Was I right or wrong on that?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
But probably chicken or beef as opposed to like barbacoa.
I was thinking pastor.
Yeah, well.
Well, that'd be a good one too.
Yeah.
Okay, this show is making me hungry.
This is just gonna be called the Hungry Show.
The beer is good, but yeah, by the end of this, we're gonna be like, woohoo! All right, well, I like this beer a lot, and I'm with Ian. A lot of the margarita beers, if you will, the beers that are kind of margarita-like in terms of the flavor, I just feel like they come off a little artificial. This one, this was like a
I
beer
think
that
that's
was
because a lot of it is.
this
I've
was a beer
tasted
to
a
be
few-
brewed to be this.
I've
you know?
tasted a few recently that look like they might be good, and they're from reputable breweries. Like 11 Below made one called Taco Tuesday.
I
That
remember we had that one on the show.
I just wasn't a big fan of
Yeah,
it.
and I like a lot of their beers, but that particular beer,
agreed.
I wasn't crazy about.
Yeah.
I agree. And don't even get me started on Bud Light Lime. I mean, that's
This
just,
makes Bud Light Lime look like Zima.
well, it makes Bud Light Lime look like the furniture polish that is what it actually tastes like. That's what it does. But no, this is really good, and you were so right making the comparison to Boiler Room, because this does remind me in a very pleasant way of Boiler Room, which was one of my very favorite St. Arnold things. So
We got to talk to Brock.
we got to. Hey, just bring back Limited. I promise it'll do well.
I can see that conversation. Brock, you don't know me. But listen.
But let me tell you what you need to do.
There's been a lot of beers that were pulled from the rotation that were found to be very popular in the comments section.
I certainly understand that you can't keep making every beer.
Yeah.
Logistically, you can't.
Yeah,
do it.
and unfortunately, very popular in the comments section doesn't always translate to popular in the sales either.
And I will
right.
say this, judging by what I see in the St. Arnold section when I'm down at, my favorite Specs or at Phoenicia downstairs in my building, like, you've got a lot more beers in full-time production, I think, than you ever
way
have.
more than there was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Way more. Used to be, it was like you had the amber and
The brown, which became, they changed the name of it, right? The Ale Wagger.
Oh yeah,
Right.
right.
which I believe is no longer.
Yeah,
available.
that's been
Yeah,
gone.
that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
We haven't seen that in a while. But as you've expanded, along came, you used to have what was the IPA named after the tall ship? It's
Alyssa.
Alyssa, right? So you used to have Alyssa, and I certainly supported you for many
years
as an Alyssa
I
fan.
would go to Ginger Man specifically to drink the Alyssa because they had it on cask.
Oh,
And they would draw
baby.
from the cask there.
And then Art
so
Car
good.
came along and became your dominant IPA.
Oh yeah, that's
And-
it. That's the American style.
And I got to tell you, I thank you guys so much. Art Car has got just enough heft in our city here in terms of its reputation and it's taken so seriously that sometimes it will be the only good beer on a restaurant's menu. Like seriously, I've been to some oh no. Art Car.
It's a good one. I mean,
It really
for,
is.
For an
It's a great beer.
IPA, it's a lot more complex than other ones that I've had.
But now you've got the juicy IPA. Is that something
Yeah.
you're gonna keep? Is that gonna be a regular thing, or is it going away?
I don't know.
I sure hope it doesn't go away.
I would
That's a
imagine that
great
it's.
beer.
I would imagine that it's fairly popular. That style is really popular.
It really is. And I'm hoping you're going to keep this little harmony around too, because I love this beer.
Oh yeah.
What's
That's
one
a
of your
house favorite.
If I was going to St. Arnold's to eat, what's one of your things that you say? Okay, like if you're coming here, this is definitely a signature dish that we make here.
I straight up love the pizza that we make.
Yeah.
I think it is fantastic.
And are you talking all iterations of it, or is there a particular one of the pizzas that you like?
I like them all.
Yeah.
They're all his
and
children.
I think that it's as far as our pizza selection, it's very well rounded. Mm-hmm. You're going to find something that you're into on there.
And as far as beers to pair with that, it's going to depend on what that individual pizza is, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if it's a chicken Alfredo pizza, I'm not sure if you got that on the menu or not. I don't remember, but that's going to be different than something that's pepperoni and salami and Italian sausage. So I'm interested to.
And if you have pineapple on a pizza, just get a wine cooler.
Yeah.
we had one for a while when we first opened.
Yeah.
And we and it was kind of put on there because I thought it would be funny. But it was pineapple, ham, and you could add Spam if you wanted.
Oh, so that's a
Spam
real
pizza.
authentic Hawaiian style
that's a
pizza.
real deal.
And we
'cause
didn't get a
Spam
lot
is
of
very
takers
popular.
on that.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
I mean, come on. If you fry up the Spam and get it that crispy little edge on it.
I'm going to admit that I like that way more than I should probably let people know.
It's not bad.
I grew up in a household where we actually from time to time had, and I'm not kidding, Spam sandwiches.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So that was the thing. All right, I tell you what, we are going to take a break here. We have more beers to taste when we come back and more pairings to talk about. At one point, we'll try your ginger beer, which I have not had, so I'm looking forward to that. And then there's a little Clan Denney whiskey to be tasted from the Isle of Jura. So we'll get to that as the show continues. We still have drinking news on the way, and when we come back, we'll talk to you a little bit about cigars to watch for in the coming weeks. Smoking a toast.
All right. You got 2 more? Passing those on that way.
Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. This is the program that's all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We are on show number 283.
That's halfway to 300.
And our guest is Ryan Savoie. He is with St. Arnold Brewing Company, but he is the executive chef there at St. Arnold, which is really exciting for us to have somebody on who knows, who really knows food and can talk about it in relation to beer pairing. And that's something that I get asked about that a lot. When people find out we do the show, and then I'm on the show, or somebody that maybe has a passing familiarity with some of the stuff that we talk about. I get asked a lot about, well, what would you eat with this, or if you're eating this, what would you recommend to drink? So the whole pairing thing, I think, is becoming a more and more important part of both the spirit, the enjoyment of spirits and the enjoyment of craft beer as well than what it used to be. So it's fun to kind of delve into this, and we'll do a little more of that here in just a moment. I want to tell you about some cigars to watch for. A pair of slender limited edition smokes from Jura State are returning to cigar retailers this summer. The Herrera Esteli Habano Edición Limitada Lancero and the Connecticut Broadleaf Tienda Exclusiva Lancero from Drew Estate will be heading to shops that are part of the Drew Diplomat program, which is about 600 locations worldwide. They're made in Nicaragua at the La Gran Fabrica Drew Estate factory. These skinny smokes measure 7 inches long and a 38 ring gauge. Only 4 roller buncher teams in the entire factory will be tasked with doing these, because they're not an easy cigar to roll, apparently. Willie Herrera, who's the master blender for Drew Estate, says the Lancero is generally his favorite size of cigar. It allows the smoking characteristics of those beautiful leaves, especially their nuances, to truly grab your attention. These will consist of an Ecuadorian Habano wrapper, Honduran binder, and Nicaraguan filler. The cigars will not be cheap. The broadleaf Lancero and the Habano are expected to hit the market in July. Both come in boxes of 15, suggested retail price of $12.95 per cigar.
Oh, wow.
And it is 7 inches long, so it's a reasonably long cigar, but obviously it's a thin
Well, the
ring gauge,
Lancero is an interesting cigar because you get so much wrapper leaf compared to your binder and filler that you really, really get to experience that
and the
leaf.
wrapper's where most of the flavor that you enjoy in the cigar comes from, but the filler is where the blender can really tweak and make things more interesting.
The sauce.
So it's very interesting. It's like having a lot of flavor, but less that the blender can do with it because of that. So they have to be really, really good. And My Father Cigars is putting the final touches on the Flor de las Antillas 10th Anniversary Limited Edition 2022. It's a new version of one of their most heralded brands, a one-size small production release that it hopes to have on display at the PCA Trade Show in July and shipping to cigar shops following later in the year. These cigars, special edition, made in Nicaragua, will be presented in ornate numbered boxes that contain 12 cigars, each of them presented in individual wooden coffins. You know how they do that with the different cigars. The boxes are striking, they say, really good. And so I got my box that I was able to buy from Alan of those Olivas, the 135.
The 135,
That has to be the most incredible cigar presentation
It's beautiful
in
when
a
you
box
open it,
that I've
yeah.
ever seen. It's just
Absolutely
absolutely gorgeous. Anyway, the boxes on these My Father cigars are striking. The Flor de las Antillas is a My Father brand. They're made in the My Father factory, and the Toro size of the Flor de las Antillas was named Cigar of the Year in 2012 by
I'm a
Cigar
fan of that whole line.
Aficionado magazine. And the new smokes will measure 6.5 inches by 52, and the all Nicaraguan blend, it's a Puro. It has a certain familiarity to the traditional Flor de las Antillas, but it has been modified with tobacco from different farms, all of them owned by the Garcias. Only 5,000 boxes are slated for production, or 60,000 cigars in total. It will be medium plus in body, and the Garcia family, the owners of My Father, have yet to determine the pricing. So something to watch for, because with both of these, the production is going to be so limited on them that if you're not watching for them, you could very well miss them. If it's something that sounds like you want to try, you're going to have to kind of keep an eye out. So, so there's your cigars to watch for this week. And,
Ryan, are you a cigar smoker at all?
I have from time to time.
Yeah.
Used to quite a
Occasional.
bit, not so much anymore.
Yeah.
And I liked Macanudo quite a bit. Those and I used to buy the Don Diego babies.
I know those cigars.
a
I've
lot.
had those. Yes, yes.
And there was one that we used to get. I don't remember the style. I think it was the style. I don't think just this one company made it, but it was like two twisted together.
Yes, yes. Those are very cool.
And I always like those because you could share. And then there's two of you standing there smoking a
Although they're a
cigar
little,
that looks
they're a little,
They're a little curly too,
super
yeah.
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, I love
There's
it.
a couple companies that still make those.
Yes, that's right. And they usually come in a little coffin box.
There's
themselves.
there's a name for that, and I can't remember what the name of that is off the top of my head.
I'm scratching my head as well.
Right now
trying
is
to
when we
remember
need
it.
Wiki Brand the
Brand.
most.
Yes, that's right. So we haven't talked about this yet on the show, but today is the first edition of Smoking and Toasting after 283 shows. That we're not actually doing it live on Facebook. Now, the show is available on Facebook Thursdays at 1 o'clock, just like it's always been. But for the first time this year, in the history of the show and in the weeks to come, we'll be actually recording it earlier in the week, and it will post at 1 o'clock on Thursdays. So there's a number of technical reasons why we needed to make this change. I won't bore you with all of them, but the one drawback to it is it doesn't allow us to have the running commentary from our some of our most hardcore fans, I guess, if you want to call them that, while the show is going on. So we will miss that, but we still want you to jump in and comment, because we'll reference it in future shows, and Ian's going to be there every week when the show airs anyway, in there, messing with you and talking to you in the comments. So it'll still be hopefully a fun thing to do. Yeah. So if you're commenting today, you notice that we're not actually referencing your comments. That's why we're not ignoring you. We will see every comment, and we'll talk about them in the weeks to come. So ginger beer, really quickly. What is ginger beer exactly? Is it really a beer?
I think that was a phrase that was put to it when it started getting made, because it was probably, along with root beer, sarsaparilla, the first
root beer's
non-alcoholic drink that was made.
But is
widely
root beer's not really a beer either, is it? Right,
No.
as we would define
No,
beer.
it's not. It's not fermented.
Right.
I don't believe this is either. But they're both cooked, just like you would just boil the grains for a wort.
Yeah, so part of the processes are similar. Now, St.
very
Arnold's root beer has
refreshing
been very popular for years and years.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, it has.
That's
and it's
a
good
big
too.
one, yeah.
And it's good. It says on the side of the 6-pack, to mix or to sip.
Yeah.
And so, what kind of things would you mix this with?
Well, the Moscow Mule is very popular.
Yeah.
Right, that's true. That's true. Yeah, that is ginger beer in it.
Do you guys have mixed beers at the or mixed drinks at the restaurant?
Nope.
No.
Just our product.
Just
Yeah.
So, but I was just going to say, it's very refreshing. I'm not a huge fan of the taste of ginger.
I
It's
like
not
ginger.
one of my favorite.
I like ginger
things.
beer more than I like root beer
Yeah,
generally.
me too.
Like when I have sushi, I don't eat the ginger. I just kind of leave it on the plate.
I like the ginger.
It's not my thing,
I find there's some ginger beers that are a little too spicy sometimes. Like, this is brand new, right?
I do like ginger ale.
We usually have been getting the Fever Tree one, and it's a little spicy on its own. Mm-hmm. If you're gonna drink it in a cup like this, you need to let it water in a little bit.
But this one actually is very drinkable. I think.
This one right out of the box has got a little bit of spice, but it's not doesn't make you.
It's not hot.
Yeah, it's not hot spicy.
And so this does have actual ginger in it, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's part of the brewing process. So, and
does that smell amazing at the brewery when they're making it?
I bet it does. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Any time that they're making anything, you can smell it. It's awesome. Like in the morning when you
love that smell.
When you can smell the wort.
It's I
great.
love that.
So is this available now? Is it about to be available? What do you
we
know?
have it available at the Beer Garden.
Okay.
And I believe it's available at bars around town, and retail is imminent. It's
imminent.
Coming up pretty soon.
And do you know if this is a short-term thing or if it's something you're going to keep out there? The root beer has stayed out there.
Oh yeah, the root beer is very popular, and I would imagine it would go along with how it's received. I think it'll be received really well because it's delicious. Mm-hmm. But I would see it sticking around for quite a while. There's no intention to stop making.
To do a small run, yeah.
Okay. Well, good. Well, this is something you can look for very soon in a store near you. And as you mentioned, Ryan, this may be available at a lot of bars and stuff almost immediately, correct?
Oh, yeah.
In the greater Houston area. So
yeah, I'll be picking that up from mixers almost immediately when I see it.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. Be back with another segment, and we have a couple more beers we want to try, as well as some whiskey we're going to get into. So some Scotch. We'll look forward to that. Smoking a Toast in number 283, and we will be right back.
We do tend to off the rails sometimes.
Welcome back to Smoking and Toasting. This is the program that's all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. Ian, give it a rip. Oh, yes. Nothing but the finest sound effects here on Smoking and Toasting.
We try to be as authentic as possible.
That's right.
Meaning, when you hear us opening a whiskey, we are actually opening a whiskey. We don't just go for cheap sound effects.
That's right. Except for the cheap sound effects box, which is about as cheap as you can get when it comes to sound effects.
Well, that's because I can't bring a big old spring in here to do that.
That's true. That's a good point. And like the glass breaking one, it would get pretty messed up in here if you were just
it has
breaking
been done
glass all the time. Yeah, it has been done. You're absolutely right. So we're going to try some whiskey. I picked this up actually last week. Actually, after last week's show, I went to Specs and picked up some of this whiskey. I was looking for something that would be fun to take to the Steak and Bottle Share, and then we would have it on the show this week. So what happened, Ian, is... Did you pass around for
How many do we have here?
I've got one there and one in my hand. So
okay, keep passing down.
Need,
and then you're out on this one, you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so we got just one more for you then. So we took this down to El Cabano and did some bottle sharing with it, although Ian did not taste it there. I did, but Ian did not. So it'll be interesting to get your take on the Clan Denney whiskey. And this is from the Isle of Jura, so this is Scotch. And tell us about what it says there on the bottle. What are we drinking here?
It says a lot.
Yeah,
it says,
this is a special cask that Specs picked, by the way.
So Clan Denney, single cask, single malt Scotch whiskey, distilled at Jura Distillery, aged 13 years, 2006 vintage, Highland region. This is number 304 of 705 bottles, distilled April 06, bottled July 19. Hand selected for Specs cask type refill butt. And I'll read the nose and everything after we taste it, I think. Without coloring, non-chill filtered. It is very light.
For a whiskey, very straw-colored, which you're
very
used
light
to.
Straw-colored.
You're used to Scotch whiskey being a little darker, a little more amber. And this is very light-colored.
But I will tell you, the peat nose happens immediately there.
Right, and it's not a peated whiskey, so that's it's an interesting...
No, but And they're just peating that dirt.
Yeah, well, look where it's coming from. Yeah, look at the centuries of.
This almost has a grapey kind of flavor to it.
It really does, especially like on the finish, you get a little grapiness.
That's pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It says the nose is distinctly sweet with delicious maritime qualities. I kind of get like a salty sea kind of thing going on. Fresh fruit, berry style. The palate has a fulsome oceanic blast with gentle smoke. Sweet malt and more of that fruit, and the medium long finish moves to rock pools, burnt sugar, and an oily glaze. Oily glaze, that's an interesting way to put it.
Rock pools, burnt sugar, and an oily glaze. Wasn't that the second Pink Floyd album? I think it was. Rock pools, burnt sugar, and an oily glaze.
Established in 1947, Douglas McGibbon and Company is an independent family-owned company in our third generation who pride ourselves on taking a hands-on and artisan approach to our Scotch whiskeys. In our Denney range, we hope you will find friends of many different characters and ages. Each has a slightly different life story from still to cask to dram, but with one thing in common. These whiskeys all have been hand-selected from the Douglas McGibbon family stocks and presented to you without coloring or chill filtration.
What do you think of this, Ian? I got this because it was a single cask and a single obviously single malt, but it was a single cask that was selected for specs. So this is not something you'd be able to get just anywhere. Although you should be able to find Denney wherever you are.
For those out there that like to use the term single malt, some people know what that means. That's actually telling you a couple things about the whiskey. First off, it's made in a single distillery. Mm-hmm. And it's the malt bill is what's going on there. That's what single malt actually means. A lot of times the Scotch can be single malt and still be blended within house of different whiskeys or more of the same type. But it's not a blended whiskey unless you take it outside of that same
outside of the house,
distillery and blend outside the house. But anyway, single. That's just a little bit about single malt, so there's no confusion on what that actually means. Mm-hmm. The single cask means that instead of taking a cask. What they do a lot of times when they're making this is they'll blend casks from within the same house to achieve a certain flavor profile.
Yeah, a certain flavor profile that they're going for every time.
Right,
for
and so this means that they just selected a single cask and said, "I want this cask for my bottling."
So let's say you had the whiskey barrels that had come out from like this particular crop that you're doing, and you notice that one of them in particular may have a little stronger or a little less of a particular characteristic that your whiskey that is supposed to be for has. You would mix it with other casks in order to find that balance and create the consistency you were looking for. In this case, this is a singular individual cask, and none of the other casks are going to taste exactly like it, although they'll be in the same family.
In the same family, yeah. But they can taste reasonably different from each other, even from the same malt bill and everything.
Well, they say that it even can taste different based on whether the cask was stored closer to the ground or several, shelves up.
This also has a spicy finish on it.
It does.
I love the oily glaze statement. That's a lot of fun.
You get a little minerality in the beginning and on the middle of the palate. You get a little bit of grapiness, like you mentioned, and then there's that little kick on the back end. Yeah,
little bit of warmth on it. It's interesting because it's a lot bigger flavor than I was expecting from the color of the whiskey, which you tend to think.
That's right.
You think it's going to be lighter. That light of a straw color, you tend to think, okay, it's probably going to be a little bit more delicate. This, I don't think, has a lot of delicate qualities to it. It's very fruity, very forward, very smoky, and with a little bit of heat on the end, which is.
Do you like it?
Yeah, I like it. It's just delightful.
Mm-hmm. And what year is this? How many years old?
So this is distilled in 2006, April 2006, bottled in July 19. So you got 13 years on it in the cask. And then hand-selected for specs.
I like it.
So, this is a specs cask selection.
It does make me think of the sea.
It does. It has that sea. Like when you go out to Galveston and you just breathe that salt air for a while,
Right,
you have that
right.
salty taste on your lips. This leaves a little bit of that going on.
which is kind of a galveston thing. That makes me like it.
I say
even better.
Galveston because it's close, but I'm sure that happens on any coast.
And it may be a better salty taste on some coasts than
Maybe.
it is in Galveston.
Maybe.
I can speak to that. Well, that's good stuff. I like it. We'll have a little more of that as the afternoon continues. But we want to come back to beer and food pairings. And Ryan Savoie, who is here with St. Arnold Brewing Company, he's the executive chef there. So what are we talking next in terms of beer and food pairing?
Well, moving up the line, we've got the H-Town Pils, and that is our ideal Pilsner
Let's show that to the camera and then do a little pouring.
for the greatest city in the country, Houston,
Now,
Texas.
you guys have the H-Town Pils, but you also have a summer Pils that's very good.
Yes, that's a seasonal.
I'm
These
a
are
big fan of the
These
summer
are two
Pils.
very, very different Pilsners, those. And it's interesting to me how, I know more about ales than I do about Pilsners, but it's just interesting to me how different the flavor and taste is between those two Pilsners that you guys put out, one year-round and one seasonally. But
Yeah. I would say that this one has a little bit more hop to it. And I always said that the summer Pils, the way that I always described it to people was cereally. Like there's a fairly significant grain flavor.
Not
that
grainy
comes out.
as in like gritty, but grainy like
The fla-
actual
like an actual grain,
There's a serious grain flavor in that I really, really like. And that's still there in this one, but the hops are still coming out a little bit more. It's got Sterling and Saaz in there.
this may be a little hoppier than your typical Pilsner, isn't it?
A little bit, yeah. But I think that
Would you mind
that
moving
oh,
those
yeah.
around a little bit?
that would appeal to, I think a lot of beer drinkers, certainly ones that I've talked to over the last couple of years, with the popularity of
IPAs, yeah, sure.
You having beers?
I'm okay.
Okay.
Not that one.
But the popularity of IPAs, you're right. People have become more interested in hop flavor.
Yeah.
And so you've seen, there are some Pilsners or lagers I've even seen the breweries describe them as a hoppy lager.
Yeah.
Or and this is that a bit, although maybe not as much as some of the ones that I've seen that actually are using that terminology.
Right.
But
This
you're
one
right.
is-
There is a little more hop forwardness here. So.
Yeah. In comparison to the summer Pils.
Right. So, if you're drinking this beer, what are you going to recommend to people food wise?
Ooh, chicken wings.
Oh yes, that would totally work. That would totally work.
That's what I would say.
And do you guys have chicken wings on your menu?
Oh, we sure
Yeah.
do. We've got the fire emoji chicken wing, which we
love that.
We ferment our own sriracha.
Nice.
And then we make with like a buffalo style sauce. We take the fermented sriracha and we blend that with butter, like a buffalo sauce. And that's the fire emoji sauce. We've got Magic City lemon pepper, which is a dry seasoning on the wing. Got Sweet Joe's rub, which came from the chef who runs our catering.
Yeah.
He had a rub that he would put on the chickens that he was serving, and we started putting out just for ourselves.
Just the rub itself?
Yeah, for the chicken that we were eating in the kitchen. And I've always felt it to be a good idea that, if the staff is gravitating towards a certain thing, it's,
then maybe
their
push it out
chances
there.
are, it's gonna be popular.
Yep.
Let's see. Then we've got a green tie and a Pichinero.
Pichinero.
Yeah.
I like the sound of that.
And plain.
So green tie is like
plain
with green tie chilies.
Yeah, green tie chilies.
And how hot is that one? Is it?
Not very.
Yeah. Okay.
No.
Because green tie chilies can be very hot.
Yeah, it's in there. There's kick to it, but no, it's not. I wouldn't call it too hot.
I love spicy. I love very spicy.
I don't like spicy beer, but I like spicy food.
Yes, agreed on that.
And then a beer like this to wash it down.
Yeah.
Usually, if you go to a hot wings place, they have, all the way up to like their nuclear style one. I always get the one right below it. But when you go someplace like St. Arnold where they craft everything, you guys aren't making one for a challenge situation, I'm assuming.
No.
So I'm assuming your hottest one is still very flavorful.
I would think so. And I'm not. I mean, I don't mind hot, but I don't want the heat to obscure the flavor of the meat.
Yeah.
And the flavor of the other seasonings. So I have a tendency to prefer a lot of times what I call jalapeno hot, which is on the tongue but doesn't obscure the actual flavors of the meat itself. My favorite, sausage is the jalapeno sausage. To me, that's just a perfect blend. You get that little bit of kick on the tongue, but you still get to enjoy the meaty.
Nah, I want it
taste
to
of the
make me
sausage.
sweat between my eyes.
But you're like, and listen, I know some people who are from Buffalo, New York, and once I get over asking them why would you ever want to live in a city with that climate, we get to talking about wings, and they're just big believers in that buffalo sauce taste. And I like it, but again, that's one that if it gets too hot, it just obscures everything. You know what I mean? The buffalo sauce. That's
you mentioned that
super hot.
you make plain wings.
Well, we offer them.
Is it popular?
Fairly enough. We sell a few during every shift that I'm there.
Because I guess you could get plain wings and dip them, but man,
I was going to say, I'll give you guys a little secret. I order plain wings a lot when I go someplace that has them for chicken wings.
But we brine our wings.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of times the flavor is terrific, and if you need a little something extra, there's usually sauces, like you said, that you can dunk them in. So I like it that way.
I'm super curious about your fire emoji one with the sriracha.
Yeah.
It's great. It's by far our most popular, and we only made a ridiculously hot wing sauce once, and that was for a special event where basically it was for Halloween pub night. St. Arnold dressed up as Brash. Brash Brewing, Houston, Texas.
Yes.
And so all of our menu was entirely metal themed because they're fairly
Of
metal
course,
dudes
yes.
over
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
And so I made scorpion wings. With
When
scorpion
Pantera
peppers.
is the latest thing on your jukebox.
Yeah, hey, listen, I had a good time over at Brash once, although it was about 170 degrees inside there. I mean, it was like
rough in the summer.
But the beer was very good, and I went to see the band Mr. Plow, which has got to be one of the coolest band names of all
pretty awesome.
time.
You mentioned
Anytime a Simpsons reference becomes a band name, I'm in.
You mentioned you dressed up as Brash. I'm going to go back to old school Montrose days. Were you around on the Halloween when Rudyard's dressed up as totally blanking on it.
Emos?
What's that?
Emos?
No, the Skinny Kenny works there. Come on.
Why
are we blanking on this?
This is real inside baseball for people that don't live in Houston. But
Goodness
the
gracious.
little purple place. I'm totally blanking on it right now.
Yeah, I can't remember either.
But
I apologize.
so these two bars in the Montrose area dressed up as each other.
Lola's.
Lola's, yes, thank you. I don't know why I couldn't remember that. These two bars in Houston area dressed up as each other and even swapped employees.
That's great.
It was
For
the
Halloween?
most the most bizarre thing. It was
that's pretty cool for April
absolutely
Fool's
hilarious.
Day too. That'd be fun. But,
Right.
anyway,
Lola's, thank you. I don't know why I couldn't bring up Lola's.
All right, I tell you what, we are going to take another break. When we come back, it's drinking news time, and we're going to get to maybe my favorite beer that you brought today. I love me some Harmony. I've been buying a lot of this lately. So if you're seeing the sales surge, that's me.
All right.
We'll be right back at Smoking and Toasting.
Yeah, I've been working on the summer pills. I love the seasonals.
That's everybody's passion.
Welcome back. It is Smoking and Toasting. We are glad to be here, my friends, and we're glad that you are here as we do program number 283. We are officially halfway to 300. So
I've done the math. That's about right.
I appreciate that you're always good like that. Our guest is Ryan Savoie. He is with St. Arnold Brewing Company, but he's not a brewer. He's their executive chef. So we're talking about food and beer pairings on the program today. We have a little more to get to, but first, what has become astonishingly the most popular segment on the program. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Drinking News.
Drinking news. drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. Drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. A Florida man with one arm said he had a gator for a pet. When asked about his absent arm, he said, I had to take my gator to the vet. Drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news.
Cheers, y'all. Well, drinking news, once again, we remind you that this segment on the program, popular as it may be, is sometimes and occasionally is actually stories about drinking. Not always, but it is always stories that are probably best enjoyed if you've been drinking. And with a little help from St. Arnold and Clan Denney, we've been doing that. So we're ready for today's installment of Drinking News. Now, back in the day, before QAnon and people believing that John F. Kennedy Jr. was not dead but was going to reveal himself to the world and be Donald Trump's running mate in 2024, conspiracy theories and urban legends and strange phenomena were really a lot more fun.
I have a theory about conspiracy theories.
Yeah?
They're out to get me.
You know, it was awesome in some silly way to believe that Elvis was still alive and working at a Burger King in Schenectady, or that Bigfoot was real, or that the chupacabra attacks random goats and sucks out their blood. These are things you could have fun with, right? Conspiracy theories and urban legends used to be a lot more
Don't
fun.
forget the jackalope.
Yeah, the jackalope, exactly. But my favorite of all of these for me personally, has always been the Loch Ness Monster, the legendary water creature that's said to swim in a Scottish lake.
Good old Nessie.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of fond of old Nessie, and a part of me has always wanted to believe that she was real. Seriously. Like, after all, I mean, we've all seen the picture, and it looks pretty weird and dinosaurish to me. And you can look at the picture, and again, I sent you these pictures. This would be the first of the two. That's that classic picture that you've seen of the Loch Ness Monster. We've got it up on the screen now for those of you who are watching the show. But an ecology professor has just put an end to all the fun by revealing what this thing we've always called the Loch Ness Monster may actually be, and you're not going to like it.
Oh, no.
Or maybe you will, depending on how weird you are.
Hold on, suspenseful music.
Michael Sweet, a professor in molecular ecology at the University of Derby, recently suggested...
Oh, not the guy from Striper.
Correct. I was going to get to that. Michael Sweet, the professor at the University of Derby, recently suggested on Twitter that Nessie isn't a monster at all, but is just, wait for it, a whale penis.
Judging by the picture, it could be classified as a monster.
Yes.
I mean, that's kind of a monster.
But you know. Sweet said that many sea monster stories reported by explorers were inspired by what he called tentacled and alien-esque appendages emerging from the water, end quote. But while many of the observers may have believed the appendages breaking the ocean surface, and by the way, we will have the other picture up at this point. While many of the observers may have believed the appendages breaking the ocean surface might be part of something more sinister lurking beneath, Sweet said that in many cases, it was just whale schlongs.
So it's just a whale sunning his dork?
Exactly. According to Sweet, and I'm quoting here, whales often mate in groups. So while one male is busy with the female, the other male just pops his whalehood out of the water while swimming around.
His mast.
And waiting for his turn. Everybody's got to have a bit of fun, right? Sadly, Nessie was unavailable to comment on the whole whale penis hypothesis. But to be fair, it's just the latest theory to pop up about the probably mythical Scottish creature. Back in 2009, researchers suspected the creature was really a giant eel, while one local man claimed it was just a giant catfish. But in my desperate hope to debunk our scientists' theory, I would ask you this question. What is a whale doing sticking his penis up out of a body of fresh water?
Good question.
According to whalefacts.org, and yes, that's a real website, even though these marine mammals thrive in the ocean, whales cannot live in freshwater environments, at least not for long periods of time. In fact, all known whale species live and thrive in saltwater environments rather than freshwater, and there are several reasons for doing so. And as to the Loch Ness itself, Britannica.com says, with a depth of 788 feet and a length of about 23 miles, Loch Ness has the largest volume of freshwater in Great Britain. Boom. Michael Sweet should stick to try and play guitar for Striper, or trying to play like his namesake, who's in Striper, because we have just shot down his theory right here on Drinking News. Don't tell me.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah,
I think
we scienced the shit out of that.
To bed.
Yes, that's right. The Loch Ness Monster is more likely a prehistoric Scottish creature than he is the erection of a whale, and that is all there is to it.
So the photo of the whale did not come from this. He did not take that photo in Loch Ness. It's just his idea.
Couldn't have, because the whale couldn't
be there.
Couldn't be there, exactly.
Is it landlocked as well?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Wow.
So I'm pretty happy about all of this. The next thing you know, somebody will be trying to claim that legendary Bigfoot footage is just...
Well, I see what they did. They took a picture of an actual whale dork, and then they put it next to the Loch Ness Monster.
Right, that's why we've got those two pictures to show you here. But, like, you got to debunk these things. Next thing you know, somebody's going to be trying to claim that legendary Bigfoot footage that we've all seen is just Will Ferrell in an ugly costume, or, like a Sasquatch version of the Zapruder film, right? No, he's not, and he's not in the White House pretending to be Joe Biden either. So Nessie lives, reporting from the Scottish Loch, where I have just dropped the mic. I think it may have actually dropped into the water. My name is Cruz, and that is your...
Drinking News, Drinking News. That's our time for Drinking News.
Cheers, y'all. All right, there you go. This is where I miss having the comments rolling in. You know what I mean? Like, because I have a feeling they're going to look really good when we get to see them. Yeah. But that's true. Very true story about the scientist. I can't believe he's a scientist and he didn't figure out the fresh water thing.
Right?
It's a lot more fun to believe it's real, anyway.
Yeah, that was my whole point. I want to believe in Nessie.
Yeah. And Bigfoot. And aliens, all that.
Yeah. And Area 51 and all that stuff. It has to be, All right. Let's talk beer and food once again, and let's talk one of my favorite things that you guys have ever made at St. Arnold, and that is this blissfully hoppy Harmony Hazy Pale Ale. Now, this is really new, isn't it?
It's fairly new, yeah. Within the last 3-ish months.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I've been buying it for a couple of months, and I have become a fan. It is in my absolute regular rotation, and I just love how refreshing it is. A lot of times when you get a really hoppy beer, it has great flavor, but it isn't as refreshing. And this manages to be both, which I really, really, really appreciate. And I'm interested to see what you would say pairs with this on a food level.
For this one specifically, I would put it with our bistro filet steak.
Yeah.
It's we use a Terrace Major, which is it's called a butcher's tenderloin.
Okay, that makes sense.
It's a real small, right behind the shoulder blade. But we serve that steak frites,
yeah.
And
very good.
And I think that would go well, because it is big on the hops, but there's still a lot of other characteristics that
you can, like, when you pour this, you can smell the dank from the hops almost instantaneously.
Yeah,
it's definitely and this is a pale ale, right? So it's not an IPA, but it's very close. It's in the same general family.
Yeah.
But pale ales have a tendency to be just a little bit crisper. At least in my experience, and this is
not as bitter either.
Yeah, it's got that wonderful crispness and a very, very high level of drinkability, but the hops are nice and flavorful.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's a great aromas.
What is your go-to style of beer?
Honestly, I like Kolsch quite a bit. I love the fancy lawnmower.
Yeah.
I always lean towards the lighter lagers as I've gotten older.
Now, fancy lawnmower is an ale, right?
It's a Kolsch, yeah.
It's a Kolsch, okay, gotcha. And that's just got That's just got such a unique flavor. I mean, I've never had another beer that tasted quite like that.
I like that one. It's great.
Yeah, it's just really. And I'll be honest, I did not used to be a fan of it. Now I really
remember
like it.
the Weed Whacker one too.
Yes,
that was like
yes.
That was one of my favorites. I thought that was one of the coolest beers that they did.
And will they ever bring back something like that at St. Arnold?
Maybe for a limited release or something like that. But,
I actually really like the Weed Whacker as well. That was
that was
stuff.
a pretty polarizing beer. It was a real love it or hate it.
It was like if you took a lawnmower and just turned it up, like flavor wise. Because I don't think it wasn't bigger ABV. It was just
no. They used a different yeast in the fermentation, and so it was rather cloudy. Was much fruitier, and overall it was a lot more complex.
yeah.
Than the lawnmower was. It was really neat.
Well, I know people are always, I'm sure, trying to lobby you to see if they can get a particular thing to come back. So we want to put our vote into the hat. We just want to be heard. We understand the right decisions.
We just
prevail.
need to get Brock's number and just call him.
Yeah. But here's
Start sending him texts.
Yeah. Here's what we. Yeah, he would love that. So here's what we want. We want Weed Whacker to return. To make some kind of a return. We want the return of Boiler Room. And we also, oh God, I would so love it if you would do this. Sailing Santa.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That's a deep cut.
That was one of my all-time favorite things. It was so good. And I have tried recreating it myself with an Alyssa.
That's how it all started.
And I just can't do it.
Volunteers at the brewery.
I just can't. It won't come out right when I do it. I'm doing something wrong.
Yeah.
So you guys have to brew it.
Is
again.
Alyssa still in production?
Yeah.
I think I've seen it.
It's not as widely distributed, I think, as it used to
That
be.
was
because
real popular when it
Art Car
came out.
Yeah, Art Car kind of took its place
But yeah.
as your dominant IPA, I think. But
they still make it. Yeah.
yeah. It's a good IPA.
All right, so
I burned out on it because I drank it almost exclusively for quite a while.
Well, I have a story as to why I burned out on that, but we'll talk about that after the show. But
got it. I'm never going to burn out on this one though. This is just great.
But so I mean, it seems like we should have a party where we bring those two beers together and see if we can make it.
See if we can make our own
happen.
Sailing Santa.
Because that's Christmas Ale and Alyssa, right?
All right, that's our Christmas show this year.
Yeah.
We're going to try to make our own Sailing Santa.
That the entire idea for that was from the volunteers during the tours at the old brewery.
Yeah, and so they combined them.
They would mix them.
It was like Reese's peanut butter cups.
Do you know what the percentage was?
It was high.
No, I mean the percentage of each beer. No,
Yes,
I get that. Because
Yeah,
both of those are higher ABV.
I can tell you it wasn't 50-50 because that's what I tried.
Right. That's
and
what I was wondering.
It didn't quite work.
Oh, in the mix, it was probably 60-40 Alyssa or 60 Christmas 40.
That
40
seems like it
Alyssa.
might be a little better. All right. We're going to try that for our Christmas show this year. We're going to try to
That's
make our
gonna be
own
it. Yeah,
Sailing
there you go.
Santa. That'll be a blast.
That's going to be a drunken show.
Yeah, unlike all the other shows.
Right,
So
right. That's very different.
So that's good to know. As far as the menu items that you guys offer at your at the restaurant at St. Arnold, how often does the menu change? Obviously, the beer menu changes from time to time. Do you guys kind of lock into what works and more or less stay there, or are you constantly changing?
All the items that are very popular, we're not really interested in just taking them away. And we offer specials on a
Right, so you
regular
got
basis.
new things hitting the
and
menu.
as things, sometimes the specials end up on the menu. In the case of our jerk shrimp banh mi, I ran that as a Lent special. Because every Friday during Lent we would have a fish special, and one week it was a jerk shrimp banh mi sandwich.
Sounds great.
Yeah, well, it's delicious, and that was really, really popular. And so we just decided to put it on the menu because the seafood offerings on our menu were pretty slim at the time. It was just limited to fish and chips. So now we've got these
Do you
shrimp
like
sandwiches.
sometimes just wake up in the middle of the night with an idea and jot it down and then go?
I do.
Try to make it happen in the morning.
Yeah, and anybody who works with me knows that my note-taking process is really, really disorganized. So usually, It's a whole bunch of doodles with just random words written down, and then usually I'll have to go back and then it'll jog my memory. But yeah, I'm writing stuff down all the time, and that's usually how it goes.
That's fun.
And
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, and eventually, I usually just pick one thing to concentrate on and work out, the recipe, going through the development of that, and then, give it a whirl.
How long does it usually take for an idea? Like you come up with an idea for something new and different. How long does it take to get that into reality and try? And obviously, it's got to pass the taste test and everything else, right?
Yeah. Sometimes it's faster than others because a lot of times we find that the idea that we have isn't practical, as far as production goes.
Yeah, when you got to ship in like very specific worms from the outside of Iceland.
Yeah, those are hard to get.
Right.
And a lot of times we'll find out that our idea, wasn't as good as we thought it was going to be.
Yeah, sometimes it happens.
So things will need to get tweaked. But other times it's just like it just falls out.
Do you have a worst idea you've had?
Oh yeah. I don't know.
I'm curious.
Yeesh. Yeah. Okay. I think personally it's a great idea, but nobody bought it. It was a shareable platter that I called the Old Timer, and it was a tin of smoked oysters, Pratchett's beef sticks, beer nuts, pickled eggs, and I think we were serving it with a little short glass of beer on the tray.
Me and my wife would have totally ordered that.
The idea behind that was, and when I was a kid, I ended up at the bar with my grandparents a lot, and that's what they had to eat. I mean, not my grandparents, but that's what they had to offer at
that was
at
the
bars.
menu.
Basically, you could get beer nuts. You could the tin of oysters. I just like those, the little tins of smoked
So you're
oysters.
not talking about like oysters on the half shell. You're talking about
No, I mean like you
oysters
crack
out of
open
the little,
the tin. Yeah,
the little
I would
roll
open
top.
up the tin halfway and put a bunch of little those little plastic
the
sword
plastic
picks
swords.
in there.
Yeah.
I loved
That's
it.
so great.
And it was on our menu for maybe 2 months. We sold one. I still think it's a great idea, but it proved to be a pretty lousy
Sometimes
idea.
it doesn't always sell,
That's right. Well, St. Arnold as a brewery, in my way of thinking about St. Arnold, it's a brewery that has been very, very successful, but has never been one to just chase the latest trend. They didn't come out with a 1,000 different hazy IPAs just when that trend took over everybody, and they don't just jump on whatever the latest fad is. And yet they still seem to have a really great and well-defined and diverse menu of beers. One of the big fads in both the beer community and the spirit community right now is celebrities doing their own. We've had the guys on that did the AC/DC beers. We've had, we've talked endlessly about Conor McGregor and his terrible whiskey.
Oh, the whiskey's so bad.
But the latest one, El Segundo Brewing in Southern California, has teamed up with punk band Pennywise, and they're doing a beer called Unknown Road, which is the name of Pennywise's second album. But
when I think of Pennywise, I think people I want to show me beer.
Right, exactly.
No.
No. But I was just going to ask, would St. Arnold ever consider teaming up with, maybe some famous Texas musician or someone and doing a celebrity beer? Is that just kind of beyond the pale for you guys, you think?
I'm not too sure. I think that it would, of course, be considered.
Yeah.
But
if Willie Nelson came calling, you wouldn't just tell him no right off the bat.
It's probably pretty likely that Brock would want to work with Willie Nelson. Yeah.
Who doesn't?
I know everybody wants to work with Willie Nelson.
Yeah.
But I guess it would need to make sense. What if Beyonce wanted to do a beer? Would you? You'd have to, right?
That would be incredible.
just maybe like a.
I wonder
queen,
what she likes to drink.
A queen,
what her style is.
Queen bee, honeyed amber. See,
you already got it.
You're already selling this.
All right,
Call
thank
the
you very
Carter
much.
family.
Brock, call me. We'll talk. Hey, Beyonce's dad lives in my building. Maybe I could swing this.
Nice.
Slide a note under the door.
If only she and her father. If only she and her father were speaking to each other, that would help a little bit. But anyway, no, but it's not something you guys would just dismiss out of hand. You'd have a conversation if somebody wanted to.
Oh yeah, it's
do
always
something,
worth talking about.
Yeah.
And you know, how else are you going to find the good points and the bad points?
Ian, what about your band? Would you guys want to do a beer?
You know, I think most of the people in my band. Well, the guitar player likes good beer.
Yeah.
Everyone else drinks whiskey.
Oh yeah, so it's a whiskey band.
So.
Huh? Yeah. All right, makes sense.
Except for the acoustic guitar player, he drinks beer, but not much of it.
No, so doesn't he know he's in a band? I mean, come on. It's not like you guys are making a lot of money from every gig. You got to at least be enjoying
We're gonna get something.
the bar tab.
Something out of it.
Exactly. Well, these beers are terrific. I am a huge fan of Harmony. I like it. It's my favorite thing I think you guys have come out with in a long time. But I also almost as equally like the Juicy IPA. What's your absolute favorite St. Arnold that you've ever had?
It's tough. I'm in love with the seasonals. I love a lot of the barrel aged offerings, especially the barley wines. I'm a big fan of barley wines, porters, those kind of things. So speaking of which, you guys have an event coming up here.
We do, certainly on let's see, June 4th.
The 4th
is
and the
our-
5th, right?
Yeah, June 4th is our anniversary party. And then on the 5th is a cellar tasting. The anniversary party is free. Bring the whole family down. And there's going to be live music and general revelry.
Love that.
And then on the 5th is the cellar tasting, and tickets for that are available for purchase.
Yeah, I looked that up online. I think it's $70 per individual.
Still,
on that one.
Still, you'd be tasting some pretty interesting stuff.
Man.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Love
there's
It's incredible.
there is a lot of stuff that they keep on ice.
I was
going
going
to
to say, now that you guys aren't doing Divine releases anymore.
well, they're still there.
They're still there, but not being released.
Right. That's my point. It's like this is where it gets interesting, right? Yeah. I mean, that was such a big deal for so long, and I know like things move on, things change. But how many total Divines were released?
22, I think.
Something like that. Yeah.
Divine Reserves. 20.
And then almost as many Bishop's Barrels,
there was
right?
25, I think 24 or 25 of them.
And almost as
in
many
Bishop's Barrel, there was at least 22 or 24 of them.
Fun times. I still,
That was a
I
neat
still
thing.
miss those.
And the I believe 2 of the Divine Reserves ended up going into production. One of them, of course, became the Pumpkinator.
Yeah.
Everybody's favorite fall beer.
And then was re-released as a barrel-aged Pumpkinator.
That's right. I remember that.
Talk about reusing a beer, right?
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Love it. Well, and then, of course, Oktoberfest, too. You're talking about seasonal beers. We just
Christmas
go crazy
ale.
when Oktoberfest comes out.
Oktoberfest, Christmas ale.
Yeah.
Christmas ale is fantastic.
Yeah, it's
It
so
is.
good.
And so this year we are definitely getting some and making our own sailing sandwiches. I'm very excited about this. All right, we're going to be back for one more segment to wrap up the show here, but I really do want to thank you for being on. This has been a lot of fun talking about beer and food pairings. And we will take a quick break and be back at Smoking and Toasting, show number 283. Welcome back at Smoking and Toasting. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. Our special guest today, the one and only Ryan Savoie. He is the executive chef with St. Arnold Brewing Company. We've been talking beer and food pairings all day. Thank you very much, Ryan, for being here. It's been
it was a treat. It was awesome.
It's been a fun show. We've enjoyed, of course, we always enjoy drinking St. Arnold beers, but getting to talk a little bit about food pairings and what you would do with it. You know, we didn't talk about any of the darker beers. So real quickly, if you've got, let's say something like the Christmas ale, for example, or
Commitment.
Commitment.
Oh, yeah.
What would you pair with a beer like that? Food-wise, where would you go?
Yeah, a steak or a
yeah.
burger.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, Ian would pair anything with.
I will
with
float
those
down
kind
the
of beers, 'cause that's
river
your-
drinking a barley wine or a porter. I don't care.
That's your wheelhouse, man. That is that is really good.
I have no problems with that.
I know. We have you over for a pool party. It's always like, hey, I brought some light, refreshing beers, for the summer day, and Ian's like, hey, you got any barley wines? So, but that's all right. It's okay to like what you like. See, I am always against people feeling like they have to conform to a certain thing because it's spring, you can't wear black or whatever it might be. It's it doesn't matter. Be who you are, like what you like. If you want to listen to crappy music and love it. Whatever that means, go for it. You don't have to feel bad about it. But if you want to drink crappy beer, I will stop you. I will say there is more in life.
There's something better.
There's something better, and I find myself wanting to do that far more than is probably a good idea. But anyway, Ryan, thank you so much for being on the program.
My pleasure.
We do appreciate and love having you here. On our show next week, we're going to do something a little different. We're going to be talking about 15 different martini variations for every drinking mood. So whatever mood you're in, we'll try to pair a martini with that particular.
So
mood.
now we're going on.
Tell you a
We're
little bit
moving
about
on.
that.
We've done cigar pairings.
Yes.
We've done food pairings. Now we're doing mood pairings.
Mood pairings with martinis, And I don't think a mood ring is necessary for you to be able to tell which mood you're in and match up the martini. You'll know how you feel. That's absolutely not necessary. Plus, we have 11 new Scotch bottles for you to try right now. So we'll look forward to talking about all of those things. Thank you guys for being here and being a part of the program. We do appreciate your hanging out with us, and we promise to have more exciting things to come in the very near future, including, by the way, and not limited to, our 300th show celebration, which will be coming up this fall, which we'll be telling you a little bit more
You
about.
will be invited to that, by the way.
Everyone
Everybody who's ever been on the show.
Yeah, we'll be invited, and it is kind of like a free-for-all.
It's a ridiculous party.
You have a venue? Are you going to record there?
We will record at the, I think we're going to do it at the New Potato this year.
We'll point the cameras away from the main party.
Yeah, right. No, but it'll be fun. Last year, the last time we did one of these was the 100th show. The 200th came up during COVID, so weren't able to do it. But the last time we did it was the 100th show, and the show was 4 hours long.
Oh wow!
It just kept going.
It was a revolving round table. Like people would
yeah.
get up and walk off, other people would sit down and start talking. It was absolute blast.
And everybody brought bottles and cans and cigars, and it was great fun. So we'll do that. We'll do that again, and we will look forward to it. Thank you guys for being here and being a part of the program this week. Ian, it's always a pleasure to see you. And by the way, special thanks to Manny El Cubano Lopez.
Oh, that was so fun.
And to Adam's wife, Brianna, who served as the camera person for that segment. Brianna, you and Adam are going to be missed. In fact, we will dedicate this show to Adam, who came along and replaced a very grumpy and grouchy producer and did a hell of a job. You got big shoes to fill, Doug. Have a great week, my friends. We will talk to you next Thursday on Smoking and Toasting, even if we've done the talking a few days before. It doesn't matter. Enjoy and cheers, y'all.
Cheers, y'all.